Today, I'm going to be talking about whether or not is it worth having a video version of your podcast if your primary audience is an audio-only listening audience. We're going to talk about that with a very deep dive today in this episode, the 734th episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show.
Here's your host, Cliff Ravenscraft.
Welcome back, my friend. I am super delighted to have you for what is likely to be a very lengthy description of my experience with live streams, video production, creating video versions of an audio-only podcast. Been doing this stuff for many years, and recently I made a decision to return to consistent weekly production of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, my main podcast. And some of you might have eagle eyes, and you're quite aware of the fact that for the last 2 weeks, I've delayed the release of my schedule. My idea, I think I may have mentioned it to you in public content in a previous episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. If not, I've certainly told members of my community either through my email list or my private behind-the-scenes Train with Cliff audio journal podcast, which you can learn about at trainwithcliff.com. Anyway, I have shared it somewhere that my intention was to show up every Thursday at 10 a.m. and record as a live stream a piece of weekly content that's meant for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And depending upon the topic, I might syndicate that out to other podcast shows. So, for example, the last few podcast episodes that I have produced, they have gone into Cliff's Notes on Profitable Coaching, the all-new Podcast Answer Man podcast, and the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. But the idea is that I'm creating everything for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, for the most part, because I want to be here every single week. I could create additional content above and beyond that, and I have each week. Since January of 2024, I've launched a new podcast with my friend and client, Daphne Scott. She and I are creating a podcast called Life, the Ultimate Choose Your Own Adventure podcast. You can find that at chooseyourownadventurepodcast.com. That is her production. I co-host it with her. We've been having a lot of fun with it. And that has been recorded every week via live stream as well. And currently we're doing that on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. And because Daphne chooses the she chooses the topic, she creates the creative flow of the outline, and because it's the two of us riffing and just going with the flow in the conversation, yet Daphne already has a clear picture of exactly the destination she ultimately wants to make sure that is included in the conversation. It's pretty much, let's go live, hit record, and as soon as we're finished, let's take that recording and publish it out to the audio podcast feed. And it's been working brilliantly for that show. Yet, there have been some things and complexities that I have brought to my own ideas of what I want my video content to be that has put obstacles and roadblocks into the creative flow of the content that I normally create, especially as a solo hosted format. That means I'm sitting here carrying the entire conversation, and if something's going on and I have lost my note, where am I at in the conversation? I have to keep talking while looking at my notes if I'm actually doing this in a very live format, and I want to maintain the production quality as high as possible, maintaining that eye contact as naturally as I should throughout the entire thing. And I also potentially want to bring in slides and all of this other stuff, and all of it is there. And there could be technical distractions and difficulties and challenges along the way, which I'm going to share all of that with you. Now, here's what I'm doing today. Right now, at this very moment, I took a gamble because I have experience with two different live streaming platforms. Now, I have experience live streaming directly to YouTube, directly to Facebook, directly to LinkedIn, directly to a bunch of other things. I have experience with each of those. But what I'm talking about is I have experience with two different multi-platform live streaming services. One of them is StreamYard, which has its own benefits to it. There's a lot of simplicity that goes into StreamYard. If one was not more technically inclined and wanted the simplicity of just go do this and give it a shot, I might suggest StreamYard is a great opportunity for you to dip your toes into the water of live streaming your content in video out to multiple platforms. I also have experience with Ecamm Live software. Now, Ecamm Live, in my opinion, offers a lot more professional options, but with professional options comes a lot of complexity because I can practically do anything and everything I could possibly dream of wanting to put together into a live stream production. That means that those options are in all sorts of different windows, all sorts of different panels, and its user interface is not it's not for the technology timid or those who are timid of technology. Let's put it that way. Now, I'm a very deeply technical person, and so I don't find it too difficult to go and say, okay, I want to do this. How do I do it? And go search some sort of query on Google or these days ChatGPT or whatever and say, how do I do this? And boom, instantly it pops up the answer for me. And before I know it, I'm doing it. But for the last, let's just say for the last 6 months, I've been exclusively streaming via StreamYard. And today, I'm not using StreamYard. Now, some of the reason for that is that last week, I went to stream live, multi-platform, and as soon as I tried to go live, I got an error from Facebook that said there was some sort of it seems like there's a scale attack, something login, and I went over to Google search what that code mean, what that error meant, and then all of a sudden it links me to a Meta article in the Meta development user group or whatever forum, and I clicked on that link only to learn that just 5 minutes before that, my Facebook account was suspended. And it says you have so many days to appeal this decision before your account will be permanently deleted. And here's what you do to appeal. And if we don't approve your appeal, you'll never be able to use Facebook ever again. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Thankfully, I am able to control my emotional state. I'm able to stay focused on what's important, what I want to create. And I went live without Facebook, and I worked out all of the details later. Turns out it was just some sort of error. I did actually go in and appeal, sent them my proof that I was a human being, that I'm really the Cliff Ravenscraft behind this profile that I've created all the way back, I think, to 2006 when Facebook was still only available to university students. And so thankfully that got worked out. However, I tried recording this piece of content yesterday. It was yesterday, Sunday, on Father's Day, Wednesday, June 16th. And of course, this was originally scheduled to be recorded live last Thursday at 10 a.m. And that's the whole reason we're here today. That's the whole reason for this piece of content today. So what happened was that I got my account all set up. I confirmed that I was able to log in via Facebook. I even deleted the destination inside of StreamYard for Facebook. I reauthorized it and I went to go live. And sure enough, it did not go live. It said there was another error. Now, thankfully, I didn't get suspended a second time, but I wasn't able to stream live. So yesterday, I went and streamed live this episode number 734 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Recorded an entire 1 hour thing. Actually, this is not right. Wait a second. What I just talked about, this whole thing where I went in with StreamYard and attempted to do it, I actually was going to do that. And I think when I saw that there was an issue with Facebook, I began to do some research. I did not stream at that moment. I actually did. I went to do some other things. This is starting to get cloudy in my head at this point. But what I do know is actually I did not record on Friday or Saturday, but yesterday I actually went and recorded something. And that's when I said, okay, well, let's just not do StreamYard right now. Let's do Ecamm. And why don't I just record locally via Ecamm? I'll forget the live stream altogether. In fact, some of my issues that I will go into in this episode had gotten me thinking, is it worth having a video version of my podcast content when primarily I'm recording an audio-only format podcast? And I've been doing it for years and have had such tremendous success in reaching an amazing audience all of these years. Why do I feel all of a sudden that I must create this video version? So I've been deciding, is it even worth it to be out there streaming this? It's added a lot of complexity. And I'll even share more about the complexity that I've added to it, the standards that I'd set for myself that are almost unattainable with the amount of time allotted to it. But what I did is yesterday I'm like, okay, let's forget the live stream, but I do want a video version that I could potentially edit and upload as a piece of produced video content. But then I'm losing out on the ability to publish that to LinkedIn as a long-form piece of video content, because while I am able to stream for an hour or more to LinkedIn, I can't upload a 1-hour video to LinkedIn. And same is true with the X platform. I'm not one of those advanced paid users on the X platform. Haven't found yet that there is a great demand for this content there. Haven't received a ton of feedback on the X platform. By the way, if you are watching this on the X platform and you're interested in me continuing to show up either live stream or with actually produced edited content that is a little bit more clear cut, either way, if you're on the X platform and you're seeing this, I see that there are views there, but I'm not necessarily seeing people tell me that they're finding me on the X platform. Although today I did get a message from somebody that says, hey, Cliff, I'm watching the pre-show here, and I decided to go over to YouTube to see if you were live, and sure enough, you're live. And he let me know. And so there, I guess, is some value, at least in streaming to the X platform, and I can get all of that value of the stream to the X platform. The question is there value in deleting that stream and or uploading the fully produced, edited version of the video if I create such a version of it? Oh gosh, I'm getting deep. And I'm talking myself into circles. And this is so big. There's so many different threads in my mind around this. I wonder if it would make sense for me to just stay right on target with the bullet point outline that I created. I don't know that I'll be able to do this. It is a massive bullet point outline, and I couldn't sleep last night. I would sleep for about 30 minutes and I'd wake back up, and this just has been on my mind, and I'm like, I almost came down at 2:30 this morning and decided to come and record this piece of content. I don't know how many people would be watching a live stream at 2:30 in the morning, except for my friends in the UK, by the way, and other parts of the country. But most of the people who are the regular normal audience for this show, especially in a live stream format, they would mostly be sleeping. So I got up, and instead of coming down and recording, I'm like, well, let me record in bullet point format all the thoughts that are in my head in a seemingly logical way to present the data, the experiences, the story, and the narrative that I will tell. So why don't I make benefit of that? By the way, I recorded that. I did that. It took me about an hour and a half to create this outline. And then once I did that, I did an hour-long meditation, went back to bed, and slept in late today. All right, let me take a drink of water, and I will then go into this outline. All right, so I already told you that I recently decided to return to weekly production of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I also wanted to make sure that my content reached as many people as possible, given the connections I've made over the past 19 years on various social platforms. Now, it may not seem like a lot to many people. So, for example, if I'm streaming live and let's just say I've got 9 people watching on LinkedIn. Let's say there are 13 people who are watching live on YouTube. Let's say there are, 7 people who are streaming on Instagram. There are, just a handful of people here and there. Here's what I know. Any one of those individuals could be worth the time, effort, and energy for me to put into creating a live stream video version of me recording content. Because here's something that happened a while ago. I will share with you some feedback. I believe it was Deacon Bradley. And Deacon, if you're capturing this live or you're watching the replay or if you're listening to the audio podcast, which I know that he's out there consuming my content, he can later confirm this for me, but I'm pretty sure this is how we got connected. He had been following my content for years. And one day I was streaming live on multiple platforms. LinkedIn was one of them. And I was streaming live a recording of how to achieve any goal. It was at my 10-step formula for how to achieve any goal. And it was either right at the end of the year or right at the beginning of the year. It was a perfect time to be putting that topic out. It was a very high production value video. It was actually a recording of my Free the Dream session from my conference on this particular topic, and I was there adding commentary via lower thirds, and I was engaging with people in the chat. And afterwards, I got a submission, an application for my Next Level Mastermind. Now, at the time, the Next Level Mastermind was $12,000 investment, and Deacon said this. He says, Cliff, the other day, I was streaming. I saw you were streaming on LinkedIn. I saw the topic and I'm like, hey, I'll check this out. And so I decided to check it out. And then I decided, you know what? I'll do some things around my office while I'm listening to this in the background. But then I got hooked by what you were sharing and I realized, man, I need to be taking notes on what you're laying down. This is like intense, valuable, actionable insights. And so he says, I dropped everything else I was doing and I sat there glued to the screen writing notes on everything you were sharing. And then by the end of it, he's like, I decided it's like, okay, I'm ready. I want to work with Cliff Ravenscraft, and I'm ready to join the Next Level Mastermind. And Deacon was a part of my Next Level Mastermind for multiple years, and then transitioned into a one-on-one coaching client. And since then, we've had an incredible relationship, and many positive things have come from that. All of that happened because I was live streaming. And how many people were streaming that live stream on LinkedIn? There were about 4 or 5 people streaming, and Deacon happened to be one of those individuals. So this is the value. It's not about reaching large numbers, and this is one of the things I want to share with you. If you ever decide to stream live, don't get discouraged by the number of people who are streaming live. If it says 1, then that's one person, all right? And maybe it drops down to 0 a few times, 0, 1, 0, 1. Been there, done that, all right? And sometimes it goes to 3 or 4 or 5. But anytime that number is above 0 and it's sustained for a period of time, you've got somebody who is listening, somebody who is engaged with what you're saying. This is incredibly powerful. And so one of the things that I decided when I made the decision to come back to the Cliff Ravenscraft show, I figure I want to bring some sort of video element to it. Now, quite frankly, I am conflating and commingling 2 different things here. Number 1, is it worth adding a video element to your only audio podcast? And technically speaking, there doesn't have to be any live element to this at all. I could simply be recording straight into a video camera or a video recording, And with said recording, I could then take that video recording, I could then edit that exactly the way that I want it. And as long as that audio quality into that video recording was excellent, I can then take the audio of the edited project and then publish it out to my audio podcast episodes. I would do my post-production of, multi-band compressors and all this other stuff because I'm an audio snob, but I could do that, and that doesn't have to be live stream. However, I additionally wanted to pick up those random people who just happen to be in the moment right now at the time that I'm live to randomly come across my stream. So I wonder if I can tell right now, do I have here? So at this very moment, I'm getting a report that I'm averaging somewhere between 15 to 16 people on this stream. I made no notice ahead of time that I was going live on any of these platforms. If I had to guess, of those 15 to 16 people, some of those people are going to drop off at certain points, and a few people will drop in. But I can already tell you right now, there's approximately anywhere between 8 to 10, maybe a little bit more, people who will actually stay all the way until the end of this live stream. And that's incredibly powerful. And so when I made the decision that I wanted to return to weekly production of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, I also wanted a video element. I wanted to create a kind of produced, nice, high-quality recording that could be a part of my archive content on YouTube and also my Facebook timeline. Those are the two places where I can easily upload high-quality edited productions of video content. But I also, on top of that, wanted to add the live stream so I can capture all of those people who just happen to be saying, oh, Cliff's live. I wonder what he's saying here. All right. So those are the things that led me to make this decision to create the video version of this podcast content that I'm currently creating. Now, let's see. So I already talked about that. I will tell you this. I want to explain to you, if you might think, well, why should I listen to Cliff Ravenscraft on live stream video content creation? He's not out there doing this every single week, like at the level and the depth that some of these other live streamers YouTube content creators, and also these people who are showing up and doing incredible, engaging live streams today and all this other stuff. The reason why I think you may be interested in hearing me out, first and foremost, some of the things that you may or may not already know about me. Number one, I have 55 podcast shows. I have just over 4,800 podcast episodes that I've produced. I have thousands of videos that I've produced over the last 2 decades. And I'm no stranger when it comes to live streaming. So live streaming and video versions of podcasts is becoming more and more popular, especially over the last 3 to 5 years. And it's nothing new. It's been around. Video podcasting has been around since the old days. My friend Laria Petrucci used to have geekbrief.tv, was one of the first really awesome, highly produced video podcasts back in the day. My friend Leo Laporte still produces a lot of video podcasts today. And even though those could be listened to in audio only format, it is produced in such a way that at least I would never want to listen to the audio only format anymore, because far too many times, because they are a video format show, they're consistently talking about they have a panelist show. So people are holding things up to the camera and showing it, and they're laughing. It's like, oh, that looks awesome. And, oh, wow, look at that thing in your background. Is that new? Tell me a little bit more about that gadget. And oh, if you look here, you'll see right here. See this? Blah, blah, blah. And they're holding it up to the camera. And so it's like, okay, now as a audio only listener, I'm not getting the full benefit of this show unless I'm subscribed to the video version. By the way, little tip, make sure that if you do create a video version of your show, it is my highest suggestion that you do not refer to what people can see on the screen. All right. Now, you may have things on the screen, you may hold things up to the camera, but I would encourage you to think about this if you can. While you're speaking, think about what it would be like if you were listening to what you are saying in the video and what you're doing on camera. How would the listener of the audio only podcast feel, think, and process what you are saying, given that they are not able to see what you're doing on camera? That is a major thing. That's why I can't be an audio subscriber of This Week in Tech or Mac Break Weekly, the two shows of Leo Laporte that I listen to. And by the way, when I actually subscribe to their podcast, I do download the video and I click play and I close the app and listen to it in my AirPods or out through my speaker if I'm alone in a room, or through my CarPlay in the car if I'm driving. And most of the time I'm listening only to the audio. But several times through every single episode, I have to back it up, open the app, turn on the video, and look to see what it is they were just referring to. This is a major issue. All right. So it's something. Now, if you really want to add the value, and there is the benefit of this, just know that you could even lose audio only subscribers. Now, Leo has one thing going for him that a lot of other podcasters who create video versions of their show for YouTube, for example, but they only have an audio version via a podcast subscription. Those people, you can only see the video via the YouTube channel. And the only way that you're going to be able to download that, listen to it offline, and close the app while you're out for a walk or doing the dishes or, cleaning the garage or whatever, the only thing that you will have to do, or that you have going for you there, is that you have to be a premium subscriber of YouTube, which, by the way, I am, but not everyone is. And so at least Leo not only has audio feeds for the podcast, but also video feeds for the podcast. So if you're going to do that, then there's the complexity and maybe even additional cost of creating both an audio feed for your podcast and a video podcast feed. And then, of course, how do you communicate to people who are listening to audio only? And this is something you hear Leo say all the time. By the way, for those of you who are listening to audio only, let me explain to you what you're seeing. And he doesn't hardly ever say, by the way, just so you know, there is a video version of this podcast feed that you can also find in your favorite podcast directory. Do you see how kind of confusing this can all be if you start sharing about video or things that you can see on the screen in your audio content? Anyway, we'll continue on. So I want to share with you that I'm no stranger to live streaming. I started live streaming my audio only podcast back in 2006, and we were using something called Skype casting at the time. And I think we were allowed to have 80 people logged into Skype under a group Skyping session, had everybody mute while we were streaming out, and then we would take in live calls. It was crazy. And then in 2007, and we started streaming live via video using ustream.tv. And so it's just like what we have with the live streaming platforms today, but it was before all the social media platforms had the option to stream live. But we were streaming live video and audio out to a live audience with a chat room back in 2007. In fact, I was doing something at the time called Live Show Thursday. This was way back when we lived in our other home, had this little tiny studio, and we had cameras everywhere, multi-cam shots, and we would just stream live behind the scenes. This is us recording our podcast content. And when I say we, I'm talking about my wife and I creating entertainment-based podcasts for various different television shows and books we were reading and stuff like that. I had friends that would join me as a co-host for, let's just say, Help I Got a Mac, talking about all things Apple related, Social Media Serenity, talking about how to find balance and peace while still maintaining a presence in social media. I had a co-host where we were talking about technology and business called Business Tech Weekly. We had so many different shows. In fact, I was producing 5 podcasts every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And all 5 of those shows were recorded and streamed live and then processed and published by the end of the day. It's like we would do a show. I would take that what was just recorded in audio. By the way, the stream was a secondary thing at the time. It was just like, hey guys, feel free to chat and stuff like that. We're here. We're watching the chat as we go through. We'll engage with you before the show, each show, after each show, and some shows will bring in your chat during the show, depending on the format of the podcast. And as soon as we would finish recording one show, we would just keep the stream going all day long. So it was like a 8 or 9 hour stream. And then as soon as we finished recording a show, I would stop, I would take the recording, do my processing on it. There was no editing, post-production necessary. I just ran a multi-band compressor on it, made sure it was a clean start and close to the end of the audio file. I would then convert it to MP3, upload it, publish it. And I wasn't that big on show notes back then. So it's like, in this episode, blah, blah, blah. And I'd put a title and hit submit. And so I was streaming live video of my audio podcasts even back then. So let's see here. The approach that I took then is that we simply turned on the camera. So I explained all of that to you, and we would interact with the audience. I already told you that. All right, next, I eventually moved away from live streams, and I went to audio-only pre-recorded content without a live audience. Why did I do that? It was a very intentional thing, because at one point, I think it was when I discovered Casey Neistat's daily vlog. This is back whenever he first started his daily vlog. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, I think I'd much rather create content for YouTube that's intended to be consumed in the way that most people are consuming content on YouTube today. And back then it was the season of vlogging. And in fact, it was the season of daily vlogging. And so I did several different seasons of my life. I had daily vlogged. And those were incredible seasons. And then there were times when we moved it over to Snapchat for a while and all this other stuff. But it came to the place where it's like, okay, wait a second. I don't want to just throw this onto my YouTube channel. I think my YouTube channel would be best served if I created content that was specifically designed for consumption on YouTube. So keep that in mind. That's one of the things. Now, later, I came back to kind of this approach of streaming behind the scenes. So I would go live on my YouTube channel, straight to YouTube, and I would say, hey guys, just want to let you know, I'm getting ready to record my weekly show of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. Back then, it was still Podcast Answer Man. And I would tell them what was going on, and then I would kind of ignore the camera, and I would just record. Kind of like what I used to do on the live show Thursdays, but just for the Podcast Answer Man. And then Stephanie and I would randomly bring back Family from the Heart, a podcast that we started in, I think, 2008. And we would stream those live. And we would do the same thing. It's like, hey guys, just hitting the live stream here. What you're about ready to see is Stephanie and I creating this content. So those are some of my experiences. Now, when I moved away for seasons and I got rid of any of the video version of what I was doing, there were some pros and some cons. And here's what I came up with. Number one, definitely a pro, less technically demanding. So because of that, there are so many things that can go wrong during a live stream. You can have hecklers and spam bots putting all sorts of very nasty links and terrible stuff in your comments. And so one of the things that you could do is either monitor it while your co-host is talking and ban people out of the chat, or you could bring in an admin and moderator and have them help moderate the whole scenario and stuff like that. That's just one thing. There's internet issues. Hey, Cliff, I can't hear your audio comes in through the chat room. And then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, let me think about it. What's going on in the audio? Can anybody else hear me? And everybody else is like, oh, I hear you fine. And there was no big deal at all. Or there's times when your audio drops and nobody can see you, or, hey, Cliff, your video has dropped. And there's all of these complexities. And so some of the pros is that it's less technically demanding. There are less things that can go wrong. There are definitely less distractions. All right. And the other benefit is getting started. Now, I may be the only audio-only pre-recorded without video content creator that ever does this, although I know I'm not. But when I don't stream to a live audience, when there's not a live audience out there, I sometimes have the habit of starting a podcast over and over and over, again and again and again. If I make any flub, any stumbling over my words within the first 10 seconds, 60 seconds, the first 3.5 minutes, heck, I've been known to go 7 minutes into a podcast, lose my train of thought, and then all of a sudden it's like, where was I at? Let's just start it over. I would never do that with a live audience. So, there is something. So the pro of actually, well, how is that a pro? Wait. So the pro is the audience. No, actually, it's the con of moving away. Okay. All right, so that is not a pro of moving away. The pros of moving away are less technically demanding, less potential things to go wrong, and less distractions. Now, I did have some things that I was missing out. There were cons of moving away from having the live stream element, not the video element, but the live stream element. Because with the video only element without the live stream, I would still have potential. It's still going to be more technically demanding, all this other thing. But the live audience, there's something about knowing that audience is there and is tuned in, is watching you, and it makes me less likely to start over and over and over again. I just make a little marker, go on, and know that I need to edit that in post-production. I might even mention it to the people who are watching live. So one of the cons is that I can waste 30 minutes starting a show 5 different times, when if I had a live audience, I would have started that show. I might have made the same mistakes along the way, but it would have been just a little marker on the audio recording, and I would have continued on, saving about 25 minutes worth of production. All right, there we go. And then another con of moving away from the video version and also the live stream is that there was no video content that I could use to archive on my platforms. There is no video content being uploaded or produced for YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook or any of these other platforms. And every piece of content that I produce to any of these platforms is an opportunity for somebody to see, hey, Cliff Ravenscraft is still out there creating content, and he's creating a piece of content about this topic. That topic's interesting to me. I haven't listened to his podcasts in years, and here he's putting this content out. This is amazing. Oh, by the way, is he back to weekly podcasts? And they might come back to the podcast subscriptions. Do you see this? And I was missing all of that. That's what went into all of this decision. Now, I want to share with you next in my outline here. From 2012 to 2014, I was creating video versions of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show on YouTube, back then called Podcast Answer Man, and it was actually being transitioned into the Cliff Ravenscraft Show at that point. It was still an audio-first production where I did speak to the camera again. I stopped at one point, thinking that long-term... Okay, so I stopped again thinking long-term talking head videos don't work on YouTube. All right, it's reserved for vlogging content. I've vlogged for years, and my audio podcast content had no live audience, no video version once again. Now, what I will tell you is that over the past 5 years, I've noticed a major shift. With the Joe Rogan podcast going 2 to 3 hours on average on a consistent, ongoing, regular basis. A bunch of other podcasters are out there doing these long-form things, and I'm listening to them. I don't listen to every podcast episode of all of these podcasters, but I would say at least 3 to 5 podcast episodes a year of the Joe Rogan Show I will listen from beginning to end a 2 to 3 hour conversation. The Lex Friedman podcast, same deal, 2 to 3 hours. And I will listen to him on average about 3 to 5 podcast episodes a year. And a bunch of other people as well. And I must say, it's like, wait, these people are incredibly successful with talking head live video. Now, granted, they got some great video backgrounds, but hey, I've got a great video background. They have, in many cases, multi-camera shoots. I can do multi-camera shoots. I can do all of that. In some cases, they're doing a little bit more. It's not so much live stream, but they're actually doing it pre-recorded, and then they have a staff of people who are actually doing some post-production, putting B-roll in, putting screen overlays, and all that. It's like, I can do all of that. And if it was only the video side of things, that would be great. But when I'm trying to do it live, it's been a little bit of a problem. So anyway, over the last couple of years, I've noticed that there has been a trend that daily vlogging isn't the thing on YouTube, at least not in my world and in the circles that I am traveling in through life, the entrepreneurial online business circles. We're constant, never ceasing personal and professional growth people. And we're all out there subscribed to these video shows on YouTube that are going 2 to 3 hours. We aren't watching every episode of all these content creators, but we're all watching very long form content on a consistent basis. And I'm like, why don't I get back to that? And so that's what I started doing with the Life podcast with my friend and client, Daphne Scott. You can, again, Life Choose Your Own Adventure podcast in your favorite podcast directory. Go over to chooseyourownadventurepodcast.com. That'll take you to the podcast that exists on her website. So we started doing that, and it was great. People are like, oh my gosh, I caught your show with Daphne live. By the way, stream duration limit exceeding. Streaming to Instagram Live stopped. This could be because the maximum streaming duration permitted by Instagram has been reached. Continue without Instagram Live. Okay, so good to know. So now I just recognize that I now have a 1 hour limit streaming to Instagram Live. This podcast episode, by the way, is not a 1 hour podcast because I spent many, many minutes doing pre-show production, describing to the live stream what was going on. So anyway, bye-bye, I guess, to the live stream audience on Instagram. But I'm still seeing that I'm hitting 16 live streamers. We're sustained at 16 live streamers right now. So I don't know if anybody was even tuning into Instagram. And will I continue to use Instagram? I don't know. All right, so yeah, okay, there we go. By the way, distraction. All right, so there you go. I was distracted by a notification that it, stopped the live stream. It's like, hey, technical thing here. Just want to let you know you just lost you're losing access to an audience. We're shutting down the live stream with Instagram. Okay, no big deal. I wasn't even streaming to Instagram prior to today. So I don't even know what the value will be there. Whether or not I choose to stream live to Instagram in the future will be determined based upon whether or not somebody said, hey, Cliff, I saw you on Instagram today. So I'll see if I can find out if that even made any impact. By the way, if one person does and says, wow, thank you for that, I really needed to hear that today, or some other piece of content, it might be worth it just for that one person. But also, keep in mind, Cliff Ravenscraft, there's a 1 hour streaming live limit on Instagram. And also you have to be right in the middle of the frame for Instagram. By the way, now that Instagram's gone, bye, I can actually come over here. I can move over here. And of course, now I'm doing exactly what I told you to do, not to do. Don't refer to anything that's being seen on the camera. Because now you're like, oh, Cliff, if I had a video version of this, I could see what you were just doing when you said, move over here, move over here. I was just moving to the left and to the right, and I was stopped framing myself in the middle. Do you see how this is the stuff this is the stuff that I think about when I think about this live streaming. All right. I think I'm done sharing all of that. When I made the decision to bring back the Cliff Ravenscraft show to release, I decided to do it as a live stream. Here's the complexities that I brought in. And this is where I really got into some issues. By the way, I'm taking a drink of water real quick. All right. So, when I decided I want to bring back the Cliff Ravenscraft Show to a weekly production schedule, I knew that I would try to create content topics that would fit certainly for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, but might also fit some of my niche podcasts. For example, many of the episodes that I create for this podcast will also be a good fit for Cliff's Notes on Profitable Coaching, which you can find, by the way, at notesoncoaching.com. I also have a podcast called the all-new version of Podcast Answer Man, which you can find, by the way, at podcastanswerman.com. Okay. And if you happen to be listening to this podcast through Podcast Answer Man, because I know this is going to be there, you can also find my main podcast that will have a show every week over at thecliffravenscraftshow.com. And of course, if you haven't done so already, I highly encourage you to not miss anything that I've got available for the world. Over on my email newsletter, you can sign up over at cliffravenscraft.com. In fact, I encourage you to go to, instead of that, go to mindsetanswerman.com/free and sign up for my free video opening keynote address, All Beliefs Have Consequences, and that will get you on my email newsletter, plus access to my free session that will help you discover the limiting beliefs that might be holding you back from taking that next step towards living the life you feel called to live, but you're currently missing out. Something's not there. Something seems to be missing. It's usually your inability to dream, which is coming from some beliefs that you have about your dreams, and I can help you discover what your limiting beliefs are, where they came from, how to disassociate from them, and how to replace them with and condition them with empowering alternative beliefs. You can get that for free at mindsetanswerman.com/free. All right. There's my little plug for the mid-show. All right. So when I decided to come back for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, I made the decision to approach it without even consciously thinking of it, but also consciously thinking of it at some level. I don't want to just put a live stream behind the scenes look. I want to be able to go hit the button that says go live and immediately have the same experience that you would get if it was a fully produced, fully edited, high production quality piece of content. So as a result of that, I scheduled myself to go live at 10 a.m. on Thursdays. Now, this is my own internal schedule. This isn't something I was scheduling out there ahead of time yet. As far as on the platforms, I figured, I'll just schedule to go live 15 minutes before I go live, and then I go live until if I get into a routine, I can do this ahead of time. But I wanted to test it out first. So my idea is I get up in the morning, do my early morning routine. I would decide what my topic is for the week. I would create myself a little bit of an outline, and then at 10 a.m., I would go live. But then I'm like, wait a second, what's my opening line? So when I get on stage at a conference, I know that I need to know ahead of time, what's my opening line? What's the hook? What are the first words I'm going to say? And also, I want to know what story am I going to start with? And of course, that will be determined upon the actual overall theme of the episode. What's the actual key message that I'm trying to put out? So for example, this particular episode, the key theme is adding a video version of a audio-only podcast. Is it worth it? That's what this entire piece of content, everything I'm doing in this episode is all in service of me sharing my thoughts as it relates. Is it worth it to do a video version of an audio-only podcast? And that's where that everything is in service to that. But then I'm like, oh, wait, okay, so before I've got the outline, and if it was an audio-only format, and if I wasn't thinking about video first priority, and I want it to be perfect, this high standard of quality, I would have had everything that I needed. It's like, hey, everybody, I'm getting ready to record live. Today I'm going to be doing this. Let me go ahead and hit the record on the recorder. And then I would have just did what I normally have done for thousands and thousands and thousands of audio-only podcast episodes, or even episodes that were streamed live, but where they were just getting a behind the scenes, like the video viewers that are watching the live stream version on video of this. By the way, some people may be watching the edited out version of the video version, where everything before I started this topic, all of the communication to the live stream audience, all of that will be edited out and uploaded as a full-blown video episode. I'm going to get into what I'm doing there in just a moment. Okay, but here's the thing. I wanted polished. I wanted professional looking. I wanted it to feel fully edited. I wanted high quality video. And when I say high quality video, not the look, not the feel, not the sound only, I wanted all of those things. But I also wanted it to have not B-roll footage, but as much as I wanted the screen layout to look nice. I want to create slides and have me off to one side and the slides over here, and almost as though this is the kind of way that I would create a video that is a part of a module of an online course. Or this is the way that I would create content if I was doing a live training or a live webinar or a live workshop online. This is the level of quality that I was thinking that I would create this content. But that idea wasn't there when I decided to record streaming live every single Thursday at 10 a.m. No, what happened the first week that it was Thursday morning that I had this scheduled, I chose my topic in the morning, went to the gym, worked out, came here, all the stuff ready to record, and it's like, oh, I should create a thumbnail. Oh, I should create this description. Okay, this is great. Let me go schedule that live. Oh, you know what I could do? Okay, I don't want to just riff on this. I could bring in a presentation. Let me go create slides. Next thing you know, it's like, okay, well, let me decide what slides to do. And oh, by the way, can I just say, let's create a thumbnail. I don't know about you, but I can obsess over some thumbnails. Just a thumbnail for a video alone. Doesn't have to, but it can take an hour or more. And when I say more, I mean a lot more. But I've gotten my thumbnail design down today, and it's going really well. So, some of these things, there's a massive learning curve, and you have to just grind it out till you find the efficiency of the procedures and the workflows that work for you. It doesn't help if you're consistently changing platforms all the time. But anyway, I started doing that. And the problem is that when I began making slides, the time to create slides, and it basically, number one, there was not enough time allotted for that. So I was pushing. It's like, okay, well, I can't go live at 10 a.m. So I'm going to spend the next couple of hours creating my video slides. I will go live this afternoon. And then all of a sudden it's afternoon and I just finished my slides and I'm like, okay, I'm exhausted now. And so, okay, I'll stream live tomorrow. And then I would go to stream live tomorrow. And I did. Tomorrow would be a Friday instead of Thursday. And then when I actually did it, I'm like, wait a second, this is actually changing the feel of the content. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the most recent episodes of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show have been incredibly powerful. I'm looking back here. Last week's episode number 733, let's put an end to the myth of overnight success. That was an incredibly powerful piece of audio content. It was well thought out, took a lot of time, effort, and energy, and I put the same level of energy into outlining that content and creating slides that I would for a video that was a lesson inside of a module, inside of an online course. In fact, I think it may end up being a module in a course for my updated version, because I have an online course right now called Building an Online Business, and I'm thinking about recreating that as a full-blown first format or first thought of this is created for an online course version. Whereas right now, the building an online business course that I have is a video camera set up in the back of a workshop where I'm teaching this live to people who are here in the Next Level Studio workshop space that I built in our home. So anyway, that is a incredible piece of audio content, but really what that episode is, it's the audio of a video training. That's exactly what it is. By the way, if we go to episode 730, so that was 733. Episode 732, the week before that, from shiny objects to steady progress, leveraging what you already know. This is also at the level of a video training. It's the audio of a video training for what I would want people to think about when it comes to introducing a new marketing strategy, adding a new product offering before you've kind of ironed out some things of the other product offerings. This is the episode 732 will be a part of my all new version of the Building an Online Business program. And I think it's great, except for the fact that I can't create that every single week while also doing all the other stuff, not with the time that I've allotted to it. The next one, episode 731, the top 3 online business mistakes I've made over the past 4 years. Great piece of audio content. However, it's the audio of a video training. Go look at youtube.com/Cliff Ravenscraft and go look for those episodes in my YouTube uploaded videos and click play, and you will see the insane level of quality production that I wanted to live up to every single week. But I can't create video course material for the Cliff Ravenscraft Show every single week for the rest of I don't know how long, not within the amount of time allotted to it, especially when, quite frankly, I want to actually create video course content on a different topic that not every one of those are going to be put into the Cliff Ravenscraft Show or Podcast Answer Man. I need to have some content in my course, right? That you haven't seen and or heard or have the access to. But the other thing is that there are courses that I want to make, and I have not been getting around to creating that material because I'm putting all of that creative energy just to have a video version of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show that meets my standards. Today's content totally dropped all of that and says, okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to live stream. I'm going to say, hey, here's the topic. Here's the description of what I'm covering in this piece of content. But the first 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe just hanging out, talking with you on the live stream before I finally start recording. Now, from that point forward, I want to actually create and keep this flow going from the beginning of the show with as little post-production required. At this point, there's only 2 or 3 markers that I've put on the audio recording, and as a result of that, it's going to be very easy for me to turn this into an audio production. And when I'm doing that, because it's audio first, am I going to go into the video recording of this and edit it there and then use the audio from the edited video? Or will I do what I had to do last week when I was using StreamYard? Remember, I'm using Ecamm Live today. Now, StreamYard, the reason why I had to do something unique, different last week, so I was doing all of these slides, and these slides were being overlaid on top of my live video and audio, streaming out to StreamYard. Now, StreamYard records that fully produced piece of content. However, that recording that StreamYard has compressed audio and compressed video, but compressed audio. So the audio quality coming from me to StreamYard, the recording of that fully produced video that has the video slides overlay and the video background and all the other fancy stuff that I put into those last 3 episodes, to that video, I could download that and I could edit it, but I can't take the audio of that and put it in my podcast content, put it out to my podcast feeds because of my audio snobbery. I have a very high standard for audio production, and the audio quality just isn't up to the standard. Now, do I think it's fine for a video version of this content? Yes, because the video kind of makes up for the subtle loss of consistent quality of the video, of the audio. So there's that. Now, technically speaking, StreamYard does allow me to record the local recording of what my Rodecaster Pro is sending into my into StreamYard. And it will record a local version of it, and it stores it on their servers, and I could have downloaded that. But that local recording of my audio video feed that StreamYard did when I was streaming live, I could use that, but it doesn't have any of the overlays. It doesn't have the background that was there. It doesn't have me off to the side with my slides over to the right. It just doesn't have any of that production. So last week, what did I do? There were several edits that needed to be made. And what I did is I downloaded the version from StreamYard, and I had my version of audio, and I used the markers in my audio recording, and I went and found every little piece that I had to clean up the audio, and where I restarted something over again or something like that. And every edit I made in audio, I had to go into my video editing software and find that spot and make that edit there as well. Now, did I have to? No, I didn't have to. But I did it because I wanted a fully produced, fully high production thing. Now, one of the things that I could do is say, listen, I don't want to put the slides on. Now, if I don't want to put the slides on, I could use StreamYard to stream live and say, hey, I want to stream to all these platforms via StreamYard. And by the way, I also want you to record local video and local audio so that I can do that. And I'm going to record my audio here on my Rodecaster just as a backup because I'd like to have that just in case. All right. But then if I'm not using any slides at all on the screen, then I would be able to just take the video version, and that was the local recording from StreamYard, download it, bring it in my video editor. I could make all of the edits, clean up all of the spots, take off all the stuff in the beginning, all the way through the end, and just that. Then once all the edits are made, I can export the audio of everything that's left. I can then run that through Adobe Audition, do my audio compression magic on it, Cliff's secret sauce, save that back out as a WAV file, bring that back in, and replace the original video audio with the new compressed version. Now I can, what do you call that? I can actually process that video, let it process in the background. I can take that WAV recording that I pulled there from the edited video and then save that as an MP3 file. And now I have the audio version already edited and the video version now edited. But I couldn't do that over the last couple of weeks because I was putting slides up on the screen, and those slides were only available and shown on the StreamYard recording, which is like, So here's the other thing that I thought. It's like, okay, well, what if I decide, first and foremost, my first question is, do I just drop video? Is it crazy that I'm trying to keep a video version of my audio-only podcast? I love the fact that I've decided to come back here and create the Cliff Ravenscraft Show on a weekly basis. I am thrilled I made that decision. So many reasons why I want to do that, and I'm committed to that. But I don't know that I'm yet committed to producing this via video every single week. And I don't know that I can do it given the time I've allotted with the standards that I've been trying to live up to over the last couple of weeks. It's been a great learning process, all of this other stuff. But do I even want to? And this is what I was losing sleep over. I was like, do I record or not record video? Do I stream live or not stream live? And here's what I will tell you is I'm looking right now. I'm fluctuating between 21 and 22 live stream viewers right now. So we've gone up from 16. And now I would say from this point to the end of the live stream, it's very likely that anywhere between 15 to 18 of you will stick around to the end of this. And by the way, some of you are going to say, wow, this is amazing. I want to go back and listen to the beginning of this. And you may actually, once the live stream is over, immediately hit and watch the replay. So, or you may actually say, hey, Cliff's got the Cliff Ravenscraft show back. It's been years since I was subscribed. And when he's decided to just do this inspired content only and he's not there every week, I unsubscribed. So you might resubscribe. It's like, okay, I don't want to lose that. And occasionally, I want to sometimes put video overlays. Sometimes I want to create something that would be worthy of a video that could be put into a course inside of one of the modules of a course that I'm creating. Sometimes I want to be able to create something of that quality for my live stream of the week and for the Cliff Ravenscraft show, and that might also be syndicated out to some of my various other niche podcasts. So I decided, okay, well, it might be beneficial for me to go back to Ecamm Live, because in Ecamm Live, I'm able to create a layout on the screen that will push me over to the left like I was benefiting before, with a little bit of a video, like there's a slight animated video background that I had created, and I could bring my slides presentation and put them exactly, I could recreate exactly what I was creating in StreamYard to the T. And here's the interesting thing. When I am streaming live on Ecamm Live, it's pushing all of that post-production, screen magic, beautiful, high quality, aesthetic appeal slides and everything. It will push it all out, but it's also in the local video recording on my hard drive. I'm like, yes, I am going to do that. But no, I'm not going to create slides and use that layout every week. That's where I've come to. Do you see how much all of this is like, wow. Okay. So, yeah. That's what has been going on. And I've shared with you already, I believe, at the beginning of this, some of the technical hurdles that I've had. And what I want to do is I just want to share with you what my decision right now is, and then I'm going to give you recommendations for you to consider. Whether or not should you even consider video when you could benefit from either continuing on with an audio-only format podcast, or if you're thinking about starting a podcast, just go straight audio only. All right? So I'll get to that in just a moment. But I'm going to tell you right now where I currently feel like I'm landing. All right? So this is what I plan to do. I plan to, once a week, record a piece of content for the Cliff Ravenscraft show. I'd like to benefit from all the benefits that come from having a video version of the Cliff Ravenscraft show as well. I'm currently not committed to creating it in such a way that I'm going to create a massive outline of everything thought out in advance and slides to go with it so that it's at the level of content production like it's an online course training video as I've done over the past 3 weeks. I am not going to do that every week. I reserve the right and desire to come back and do that as frequently as I feel inspired and led to do so. However, I also desire to have a version of the video recording of my audio-only podcast content that I'm creating every week, where if you go to my YouTube channel and you see the most recent episode, I will probably remove the live stream version, or the live stream version will actually, it'll say live stream behind the scenes, but and it won't have the same title anymore. I'll change the title so that it doesn't confuse with the title and thumbnail of this. The thumbnail will say something like, matter of fact, I have my thumbnail. It's behind my screen. I'm not going to go look for it right now. But anyway, I'll have a separate thumbnail that I'll change out. Right now, I'm using the thumbnail for the live stream that is compelling and that has the hook and that will draw people in, but I will remove that thumbnail from the stream version in YouTube. I'll leave the stream version there, but it'll be labeled as behind the scenes. The description will be behind the scenes, and it'll have a new thumbnail that indicates this is behind the scenes. But I'll take the edited video version, whether it has slides or no slides, talking head only. But as soon as you click play on that video in my YouTube feed for the uploaded version of it, it's straight to the point. There is no talking about, hey, I'm doing this live. This is behind the scenes. This is that. It may just be a talking head video like I'm doing right now, talking to the camera, but I'm primarily recording this as an audio first podcast, and it just goes the way it is. I will also do the same for Facebook. I thought about deleting the live stream version of it on Facebook and uploading the new version, but I think I'll do the same thing there. I'll go and edit the description and the thumbnail on the streamed version from Facebook, but I will also upload the the more professional edited version of the YouTube of the video version on YouTube. I can't upload that large of a file on LinkedIn, so I can't do it there. So that's my intention, and so that I can make sure that when I want to use the slides, I'm going to start using Ecamm Live each week to produce this instead of StreamYard. Now, the other thing that I want to do is I want to look into there's Ecamm Live now has the ability to bring in Zoom guests instead of the guesting way of doing things before. I may try that with my friend Daphne, and I may move away from StreamYard altogether. Not because I'm upset with StreamYard. I just don't need both platforms. And so anyway, that's something I'm thinking about. But that's what I'm thinking. But the primary thing is I'm absolutely committed. Even if I create a version of this where I've created slides and it could be used inside of a module of a course, that video content is that great of quality, I'm still committed that I want to make sure that every syllable of every word fits perfectly as an audio-only podcast episode, because that's my priority for my weekly content. I don't want anybody subscribed to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show where it's like, oh man, I wish I could see what Cliff's talking about on the screen right now. And I recognize I already did it once today. I pointed out when I did it, when I said, see, now that Instagram's gone, I can go over here and I can go over here. I don't have to stay straight in the middle. But at least I made a video in your mind of what that's all about. Now, I have some recommendations for you. All right? Here is my recommendations if you are considering this for yourself. Evaluate your goals. Consider why you want to have a video version of your podcast. Is it to reach a wider audience? Is it to engage more deeply with your existing audience? Or is it to enhance your content in some way? Are there things that you can do only in video that you can't do in audio? Which, by the way, I would challenge you on your thoughts on that if you think the answer is yes. I once had a guy who was a professional chef, had a massive following on YouTube, and he's like, Cliff, I can't see how I can translate what I'm doing into audio. And I said, would you be interested in some thoughts on that? And he ended up creating an audio podcast teaching people how to cook in audio-only format, and it became far more popular than his YouTube show. All right, and he was a television PBS. He was a celebrity in his own space. He was a big fish in a small pond, but he was still a big fish. All right. Anyway, the second thing that you want to know is you want to understand the technical demands. Video production, hands down, requires a lot more. There's equipment that you need to be considering, lighting, the right gear, matching up and syncing audio and video if they're coming from separate sources, all of these different things. There's software. There's the skill of editing. There's all of this. There's even deciding what thumbnail is so vitally important. There's the technical know-how compared to audio-only podcasts. Audio-only production is simple compared to adding the video component. And if you're already daunted by creating content, I would highly encourage you to at least start with audio only. All right, there we go. So the next one is assess the time commitment. Creating and editing video content takes significantly more time than video. Ensure that if you are going to hold yourself to high quality video standards, make sure that you add yourself many extra hours involved in the process every single episode. All right. I'm not going to number these because there's lots of them and I have not numbered them on my list and I will forget the numbering. So the next one is determine your production standards. Decide if you want a polished professional look with slides and B-roll and all that other stuff, or if you want more of a casual or even a behind the scenes approach. And I'm kind of taking a little bit of both. I'm doing a casual behind the scenes approach to the live stream versions, but I'm also going to take the recording of that, edit out all of the unprofessional casual element of the start and end of the live stream, and I will create a version that is uploaded and stuff like that. And some of them will be just talking head, and some of them will have slides and other B-roll footage and other things added into the production. Oh, by the way, there was one in the episode, was it last week? I think it was last week, The Myth of the Overnight Success, Don't Quit Your Day Job Prematurely. One of the elements, when I played the audio clip from Michael Stelzner's podcast with Seth Godin, in an audio-only production, to include that in the audio podcast, if I did not have any video element, it would have taken me 30 seconds to go find that audio file, and when I'm ready for it in the show, to play it, and it would have been recorded right in and all this other stuff. Do you know that video or that audio clip of Seth Godin and putting it into a video element added 2.5 hours of additional element? And that's only a 2 or 3 minute audio clip that I included. But I went in and I wanted to create a background of a tape reel to reel and have it being animated. And I wanted to have the logo of the podcast episode and all this other. It's beautiful. And I mean, super impressive. Not practical for me to do every single week for a podcast episode production. That's what I'm getting at. All right. So definitely you want to determine your production standards and understand that the higher production standards requires way more resources. All right, consider audience engagement. Live streaming can boost engagement through real-time interaction. That can also, by the way, be a distraction. So keep that. And by the way, it can be rather demanding. It's like, Cliff, why isn't he responding to my comments and all this other stuff? And I'm going to respond to comments after I finish recording this show. And occasionally there might have been a glitch that started 10 minutes ago that I wish I would have paid attention to comments. And I could have saved myself recording the rest of the show. But, it is what it is. All right, next. Make sure you understand that you're going to need to learn how to manage technical glitches. Be prepared for issues such as the loss of your internet connection. Make sure that you understand that the audio may drop, the video may drop, the camera may turn off midstream. You may have a troll in your chat. You may have software glitches. You may have hardware malfunctions. All right? So just understand you're going to need to manage all of that you would not have to manage if you were doing audio only. Then you want to consider, do I want to manage multiple platforms? Do I want to balance this out? I mean, if I have the option to stream to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to YouTube, Instagram, the X platform, do I want to pick up those additional people? And I'm looking at the live stream, still streaming right now, 20 people streaming live, consistent right there. I'm reaching you watching live right now. I would not have this benefit. You may have never heard of this episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show ever had you not caught this live stream today. And that's for me something I definitely want to think about when I'm doing this. Do you want to leverage existing content? Do you want to use video versions to create content for social media? So, for example, one of the things that I can do, especially if I don't have lots of slides and overlays. By the way, one of the drawbacks of slides and overlays is the inability to easily crop and use just portions of your talking head video or your talking head recording of you and another person doing an interview. There are great tools like opus.pro, not opus.com, but that's opus.pro. Opus.pro, you give it a link to your YouTube video, and by golly, it will go and analyze it and create all of this amazing AI generated. Here are some great clips. Here's some ratings that we give to it. This is why we think it's great. Here's our captions that have been doing it. We've cropped it in this way. We can add B-roll. There's amazing things that are out there. So if you're going to create a video version, I would encourage you to look into something like opus.pro. And once you discover what opus.pro is, try their free account, then go and research the 5 or 10 other options that have come out since then and compare all of them. All right, test your approach is one thing I would recommend. If you're going to jump into this world, test it, do a couple of videos, and see if it's sustainable for you. Also, I need to help you understand that if you're new to all of this stuff, it's going to be horrible at first. It's going to be so difficult, so challenging. I've been doing this for years, and just listen to all of the challenges that I've been talking about. And yet, I'm an incredibly technically savvy person. I am able to understand this stuff at a deep level. I'm able to manage this stuff. And I've even questioned, do I want to continue this video? I've definitely landed on the side that I do want to for all of the reasons I've outlined, but at a cost. And at a cost at which I'm willing to pay. But I am changing my approach based upon my experiences that I've had and the resources of time, effort, and energy that I am willing to allot to the weekly production of said content. All right. So test your approach. Change it and be flexible. Try out different things. Also, I would encourage you to consider the long-term impact. Think about the long-term impact of the benefits of having video content, such as building an archive of your content on these platforms that might not be getting your audio content. I can tell you right now, you could upload links to your audio-only podcast in social media. They don't typically do well. You can create audiograms, little clips of your thing where it creates the little, animated waveform sound and stuff like that. And you put 2 to 3 minutes and click here to listen to more and stuff like that. They don't get a lot of hits. However, the video version of your content does seem to get more engagement on social platforms. So consider the long-term format of having an archive. I mean, go to facebook.com/CliffRavenscraft and just look at my timeline, and it will communicate something to you about me, my consistency, who I am, the value that I bring to the table, the level at which I show up, the consistency at which I create content. There's a story that's being told by all of this content that you see there. Same is true on YouTube, same is true on LinkedIn, same is true on X, and all of this other stuff. So think about the long-term impact. And then, is it valuable for you to consider your audience's preferences? This is a challenging one, all right? You might think, obviously, what I want to do is make sure that I understand, some people enjoy the simplicity of audio. There are other people in my community out there who would appreciate the video element. And so I really want to think about and give the best that I can to all of those people. And so I really want to think about my audience. And I am all in on thinking about your audience. However, I want you to make sure to never put that over the top of your own sense of well-being and your own personal preference. Let me share with you what I mean by that. Reflect on whether or not you enjoy the process of creating the video content. Now, chances are, if you're just starting out, you're not going to enjoy you're going to have to give yourself time to enjoy it. But over time, if you go through and you never really feel like it clicks for you and it's this ongoing challenge and ongoing hassle, then I would just tell you that passion and enjoyment for what you're doing is actually it is crucial for long-term success. all right, and sustainability even for your energy level. Follow your energy with this. What I will tell you is that I love being live. I love being on camera. I don't love getting ready for it. I don't love being on camera only to find out that I forgot after lunch to floss my teeth and I still had some cilantro from Chipotle in my teeth the entire time. And and it's like, oh my gosh, sometimes like I don't even know that it's noticeable. I can't even see it on camera. But here I am referring to you right now. It's like yesterday I was doing something around the house and cleaning out this exhaust fan, and the attachment to my shop vac is heavy and fell off, and it knocked me right in the head, put a little red mark on my head. It's like that's gonna show up on video now I actually see that. Now I see it. It looks like a little what do you call that? The Voldemort scar. Ooh, that even sore when I touch it. But there's a little tiny red mark on my forehead. And the other thing, by the way, I shaved on Friday when I attempted to do this live stream. And Friday's I don't have any scheduled calls. I should have had this thing recorded on Thursday. But here it was. I waited until Friday. I needed to shave. And so I shaved and came down here, and I'm going to do this. And then I decided to move it to Saturday. It's like, oh, well, okay, we're going to Columbus on Saturday. It's like, okay, well, let me just move it on to Sunday. And then I moved it to yesterday. And then yesterday I had a technical issue, a hardware issue with my Rodecaster. And if I was recording live, I would have been available to fix that right in that moment. However, I wasn't able to fix that right in that moment because there was nobody streaming live that I was streaming live to tell me that my audio was sounding like a robot. And when I finished recording yesterday, great recording, I went and listened to the audio and the video recordings, and the audio sounded like a robot. It's like, oh, there's that glitch again. I should have, and I had actually tested it 2 or 3 times before, but because I wasn't streaming live, I started over many different times, and something happened in the situation where ultimately it broke everything. And the actual time that I went through and did the whole thing from beginning to end without a live stream audience, it all sounded like a robot, and it was useless. And then I went out. It's like, okay, so I'm recording it today. All right. So now here on Monday, and you know what I had to do? I had to shave again. I didn't have to. I chose to. But it's like, it's these little things. So I would encourage you. Do you enjoy the process? In spite of all of these hassles, I enjoy this process. In spite of all of the difficulties, in spite of all of the potential audio glitches, the internet glitches, the trolls in the chat rooms, the all of the extra work involved, the time invested in creating thumbnails, all of this is a massive amount of work. And yet I still enjoy showing up on the video. The question is can I do it in such a way that it will fit within the amount of time that I'm allotting? By the way, I want to leave you with this quote from Howard Thurman. He said this: don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I have always modified this in my mind. Hey, as a content creator, don't ask yourself, what does my audience want me to create? Now, there is value in asking that question, but not to the exclusion of asking yourself this: what content do I create that makes me come alive? In what ways, in what formats do I create content that really allows me to tap into that flow state? Go and do that, because what the world needs is you as a content creator to love what you are creating. And that is my message for you today. Hey, real quick, at the very end, I want to just give you a little call to action. If you are resonating with the content that I create, you really enjoy it, I love hearing from you. I invite you all of the time to email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Link to my email address is in the show notes for this particular episode. Not necessarily on the live stream, but in the uploaded version on YouTube and all of the podcast shows that I'm doing. So go check it out in the show notes. Also, I want to let you know, if you are an early stage entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, I have a brand new group coaching program that is getting ready to launch on January 9th. This is a weekly 90-minute session where I will teach you everything you need to know about the framework of how to build a successful, profitable online business. I'm going to teach you all of the elements that I have learned over the years. In fact, I'm going to give you access to the Building an Online Business course that I already have available. I will then give you, and we're going to create through these sessions, the all-new version of that. Every week, you'll have opportunity to ask me direct access to me, Q&A. And then once I finish the training, the remainder of the 90 minutes is all ask me anything. If you are anywhere in the process, if you actually have either a desire to have an online business or you have an online business and you are not bringing in a minimum of $10,000 a month every single month in personal income from the business efforts, this program is for you. Now, I do not have a sales page yet, but if you email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and in the subject line, just put in there early stage entrepreneur, or put online course for business owners, whatever you want. Tell me that you heard about it, and I will interact with you, ask some questions, and we will tell you about what's getting ready to be enrolled, or what's getting ready to come out. This is going to start, by the way, on Tuesday, July 9th. Every Tuesday at, I think, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time to 5 p.m. Eastern Time are the live sessions. It's going to be every week. Every single session, by the way, will be recorded and uploaded inside of a course/archive of all of these sessions. You then will get an email saying, hey, this week's session is now available online in the archive. Here is the list of what was taught. Here are the topics. Here are the questions. Here's a summary of everything and the time stamps of what you can find. And even if you never make it to any of the live stuff, which I encourage you to come to as many of the live sessions as possible, you will always be able to go in and instantly find those topics that are most appealing to you. This is going to be an incredible ongoing access to me for help and coaching and mentorship on your entrepreneurial journey. If you're interested in this, again, email me right away, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.